What's up, Jefferson Multimedia? We're wrapping up our semester with a paper on representation in media. How do movies and TV shows represent anyone that's not white or male? I really don't know how to say this any other way. I'm going to do a related paper because I found that when I write one of the writing prompts that I give you, half of the class will copy me and just change the keyword to whatever they're saying. I'd like to look at women in music and talk about how I'm a typical guy that grew up listening to all this crazy classic rock from the 1970s. But about 10 years ago, when I got into Spotify, and it really opened my eyes to how little female written and produced music I was hearing. And I want to talk about some of my favorite female artists that I probably never would have gotten into if I didn't have that service. Adele is one of them. On my very first search, Adele and women in music, I found a really cool article that talks about how she's different from a lot of the other female artists that are packaged as, they can not only sing, but they have the pretty face and the perfect body and all that other stuff. And I found an article at The Guardian that talks about how she is different, and that's a good thing. How do we look at women in music? Are we looking at their bodies more than we're listening to their voices? It's about the music. It's not about how she's packaged as a person. I've highlighted a lot of stuff that I would want to paraphrase, right? And you can either do Command-C to copy it, and remember when you do that, edit will flash, or you could go up to edit and then copy. I'm going to go to my pages because I don't have Microsoft Word yet. Click inside the document. Command-V is your paste, or you could just go edit, paste. But anything you get from the internet, I not only want the text, I want you to get the web address at the top, right? So I'm going to click in the box. Everything turns blue. I'm going to hit Command-C 3 times, so you know edit's going to flash 1, 2, 3 times. Then I go back here. And before the text, I'm just going to put the address of where I got it, Command-V, and then hit return. And note it's underlined, so it's a link. Let me see if there's anything else at the article I want to paraphrase, and I'll be right back. Yeah, a little bit more. Let's get this part, edit, copy, go here, click, I'm going to hit return. Command-V is my paste. Alright, here's my summary. A guy named Richard Russell from XL Recordings said Adele had the potential to change the way women are seen in music by focusing on the music instead of her sexuality, how she looks, right? The whole message with her is that it's just music. It's just really good music. There's nothing else. There are no gimmicks, no selling of her sexuality. And then here they talk about 21. Spent 15 out of the last 17 weeks at #1, smashing Madonna's record of 9 weeks in the top spot. Almost political and sort of radical, he said. That a strong female performer could succeed without bowing to pressure to conform to a certain body type or look a certain way was unbelievable. Why? Because it's so boring, it's so crass, it's unoriginal. So many musicians, female musicians, have been packaged this way. We need more music and less looks, and things will be a lot better. How can I paraphrase that into my own words without just regurgitating what they've said? Let's take a look down below and see how I do it. If I'm going to do a summary, right, I'm going to hit return until the words are no longer on my page. I'm going to come up with my version of what I just wrote, and then I'll show you in a minute. Okay, here's what I've got. Adele was one of the first female artists to really capture my attention. Many of my students loved her music and talked about her constantly, but I had never heard her because I never listened to the radio. I heard her older hits on Spotify. Wait, you know how I say not to do the I heard her and then I heard her, not to repeat yourself? What can we change this to? Yeah, I checked out her older hits on Spotify and started listening. Many industry insiders appreciate Adele for sticking to the music and not pushing image and sexuality as much as other female singers. Adele's second album spent 15 weeks at #1, shattering Madonna's previous record of 9 weeks at the top of the charts. But you won't see Adele videos where she's writhing on the floor in a wedding dress or dancing behind a peep show screen like Madonna did more than 30 years ago. Adele's music and marketing strategy seems to be working. Her album 25 wasn't released on any streaming platform until it was 6 months old. If you wanted to hear her new music, she forced you to buy it through iTunes. And that was the first album I purchased since 2008, 7 years earlier. Everything else I streamed on Spotify. But when I knew I had to purchase it or not hear it at all, I laid down the money, as did millions of other listeners. This was a major victory for a young female musician who wanted to be in charge of her own copyrighted material. Okay, let's get picky. If I'm not supposed to repeat a word within 4 sentences, I've got purchase and purchase. What could I change that to? Give me a sec, I'll be right back and tell you. Paid for. Boom. I think that'll work. Now, notice that I'm not copying my entire paragraph word for word. Watch the stuff I'm using from the paragraph I showed you. This part. Is that it? Yeah, I think it is. Because the rest of it, no, I did talk about Madonna and the 9 weeks, but a lot of the stuff, I wanted to show the difference between the two of them. So I thought of 2 of early Madonna's music videos where it's more based on her rolling around on the floor or looking like a cool dancer or something that are supposed to get the guy's attention, whereas Adele just sings. And another thing I like about her is in an article I read, it said both men and women like her music. But I think, how many sentences do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Long sentence. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's a lot. So remember, when you're writing, use your sources, but don't use the whole source and not say anything of your own. I wanted to include the main thing I think of when I think of Adele, which is she got me to actually pay $9.99 for a record, which once you get hooked on online stuff, you know, you're like, I don't know if I want to pay it, but she did it anyway. And the album is great. Now it's on Spotify, but she held it back just long enough to get lots of people to pay the $10 for the record, which I'm sure made her several $million. I wanted to talk about not just what a great singer she is, but what a cool business move this was and how this makes all female musicians look good, or at least put them in better company, right? So that's one of my body paragraphs. We'll see what I come up with soon for my next one. Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.